Good to go.
Thank you so much, Nicholas. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight at 6 o'clock. It's kind of a rainy night here at my house. This is our first of 2021 EVV town halls and webinars. Again, you're very lucky that you won't have to hear from me much today. You're going to hear a whole lot more from Joe than you are from me. So let's go ahead and get started. Today, we always start with the mission of the Department of Community Health, which is to provide Georgians with access to affordable quality health care through effective planning, purchase, and oversight. Thanks, Joe. Tonight, we're going to go over a few things. We're going to go over DCH communication resources. I'm just going to run you through those again because I really want you to be fully aware of all of the different ways that we are communicating with you here at the Department of Community Health about EVV. We're also going to get a really good demonstration of the administrative portal for EVV, and we're going to do a question and answer session. I want to ask that in the question and answer session that we keep it specific to the individual topic, which is about the administrative portal. If there are other questions, feel free to submit them to the EVV mailbox, and we will respond to you, and I'll show you in just a second how you can do that. Next slide. So these are all of the communication resources that are available to you. What's really, really important is if you haven't been to our EVV website on the medicaid.georgia.gov, please do so. We house every single bit of information about EVV on that website. There is everything we've been through since the start of this, every presentation, a frequently asked question for providers. We have all of our PowerPoints published. We have our flyers and announcements there. We have put out member and provider readiness surveys. Again, there's a really great provider frequently asked question there, and we have quick reference guides. So please, please, please take a lot of time, or not a lot of time, but just enough time as you need to go on the EVV website. Now, one other important point I want to make here is that if you have individual questions, please email them to evv.medicaid@dch.ga.gov. The second bullet there, evv.medicaid@dch.ga.gov. We will respond to every single question that comes into that mailbox in writing. You may also request a phone call, and we will call you, or for us to set up some time. I got my first member who requested a one-on-one meeting as a result of our last town hall meeting. We're not going to do that meeting until February, interestingly enough, but we certainly honored that meeting and we already got it set up. So I do want to encourage you, if you have questions, if they're random questions, if they're not about tonight's presentation, if there's something very personal to you or your situation, please don't share personal health information or anything that would violate HIPAA on tonight's call. Just go ahead and submit it to that email box and we'll get back with you. Next slide. I may be done. Hey, I'm already done. That's great. So I'm now going to turn it over to Joe Schnur. He is the Chief Customer Officer for TELUS. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Brian. Can you hear me okay, Brian?
Yeah, I can hear you great. You sound great.
Okay, perfect. Good evening, everybody. It's great to be with you tonight. For those that joined us in our last session last month, right before the holidays, think of this as a continuation of the demo of the TELUS EVV system. So last time we went through the mobile application as pictured here on the left side of the screen, which is mostly used by the caregivers to record their visits. So today we're going to go through the first look at the admin portal. And again, as we talked about last time, this is not training. There will be plenty of training coming down the road. This is a demo, an overview. Think about it as a sneak peek, or you know how when there's a new movie and there's a trailer, think of it as the movie trailer. Doesn't tell you the whole thing, but at least gives you an overview. So that's what we're going to accomplish today, and it's going to be focused on the admin portal. Now, if you missed last session on the mobile app, the great news is we record all these sessions. So you can go back and listen to that. And I'll even show you where that's located on the Georgia EVV website. Okay, so you can create a visit on either the mobile app or the admin portal. So again, in the last session, we did show you how you can create the visit on the mobile app. In this session, we're going to show you how you create the visit on the admin portal. When you complete visits, that is done primarily on the mobile app. However, there are some examples where you can manually complete a visit on the admin portal when, say, maybe there was a problem with the mobile phone or something. So I will show you how to do that, but that is more on an exception basis. And then billing is all done through the admin portal. So again, if you think about who are going to be doing the functions of billing and creating visits, typically at an agency level, that would be the agency administrator, maybe a scheduler, and then typically the biller or the admin is handling the billing functions. So hopefully that gives you a high-level overview of the two main components of the TELUS EVV system, both the mobile app and the admin portal. Okay, so I am going to exit out of this, and if it will let me. Let's see, I might have to stop sharing for a second. Okay, I got it now. All right, let me share again. Okay. So before I jump into this dashboard here, let me show you where it, again, if you missed the last session, where you can find that on the medicaid.georgia.gov, and then you go to the EVV website, as Brian had showed you on that slide. And there's tons of great information on here. I'm on the EVV Service Providers tab. And if you page down, you'll see webinars and town hall materials. And you can see Series 3. We did 2 sessions, one on the 8th of December, one on the 9th. And both of those recordings are here. So again, if you missed any of the previous ones, you can come on here and listen to that recording and get the material. Okay, so what I'm showing you now is the administrative portal. So we will not go through how do I log in and how do I register. That will cover later on as we get closer to go live. We're going to have an entire session on how do I register and get my login credentials. So we'll handle that later. But I am logged in as I am an administrator of an agency. And you can see my menu over here on the left-hand side. By the way, if you hit this little button up here with the 3 bars, it will make the menu smaller so that your screen gets a little bit bigger. But if you don't know what all these icons mean, then you can hit the bar again and it will expand so you can read what each of these are. Eventually, you'll remember all these as you become frequent users, and you'll probably use it in the condensed view. Okay, so what we're looking at right now is what we call the dashboard. This is called, think of it as like the home screen. And the first thing you'll notice are these colored boxes. And these colored boxes represent the statuses of the visits that you have scheduled. Now, I'm in today, but I can click here and look at this week, last week, 2 weeks ago, and so forth. And it will adjust the boxes and the numbers in the boxes based on that time period. So I flipped it back to today. Now, remember, I'm in the TELUS demo. So there's not a lot of this is not an active agency. So this is really used by like our trainers and maybe our engineers. So there's not a lot of great data in here. So you can see we missed a lot of visits today. Typically, your data would look a lot different. You'd have some in progress. That means that they've logged into a visit, but they have not logged out yet. Unable to complete. Maybe there was a reason they were not able to complete a visit, and there's an option on the mobile app to click unable to complete, and it would show you how many of your visits fell into this category, and so forth. These probably make sense to you, but again, you can see like here, not started and already running late. So if you notice a few in this box, you could click on this box and you could see which of my caregivers are running late for their visits. And then maybe you want to message them. You could message them via the app. You could call them, whatever the best communication method for you. And then if you click in any of these boxes, it will give you the detail. So I clicked in the box with completed, and you can see these are all my completed visits for today. Okay, and it flipped me to the visit screen when I did that. So I just click back to the dashboard, takes me back to the screen. We also give you a weekly overview and like a bar chart. Some people find that to be helpful as well. You can see as I hover my mouse over it, it tells me again how many were in each of the boxes. So I can do that and quickly get an overview of how am I performing over this past week. And again, I can flip it to last week, 2 weeks ago, and so forth. I also have some charts down the bottom on my work queue. Now, this is regarding claims. The next town hall, we're going to focus on claims. So I won't go through this tonight, but I will in the next session. Same with this other one here with release claims and my claims queue over here as well. So we'll cover those in a later session. Over here on the right, you see the inbox. And what this is the messaging from your caregivers in the field. So you can see that Hannah, one of my caregivers, sent me a message at 5:42 p.m. And I can see the quick message. If I click on this, it will open up a box. So if it was a longer message and I don't see it all here, I click on it, and then I can read the entire message. There's also an ability for me as an administrator to message back to Hannah via the app. And we can show you how to do that. Last time on the mobile app, we showed how you enter in the note that would post on the inbox. Okay, so that's a quick overview of the dashboard. Next, I'm going to go over a couple of these other tabs. So the recipient tab. So this is all your clients. Now TELUS is going to get a feed from the state of Georgia on all of your recipients. So when you log in for the first time, you're going to see all of your recipients that are assigned to your agency that are already going to be preloaded into your system. So you will not have to load your clients in here. And then you can search it by any of these data points up here: first or last name, date of birth, Medicare ID, and so forth. Okay, let's talk about the users. So these are all users in the system. So again, an administrator, a biller, all your caregivers, anybody that's going to be using the system needs to get loaded into the system. And for the users, we are not getting a feed. So you will need to load your users. Now, there's two ways that you can load users. If you look in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see this plus sign. That allows me to add one user at a time. And right next to it, it says import users from a CSV file. So we will provide you a template. It's basically an Excel sheet. It's really a CSV sheet, but it's the same thing. And you can fill that out. Potentially, if you have all your caregivers already in a different system and you wanted to export it into a file, you could then import it into that template, and then you can upload all your users at one shot. So again, we offer you two different ways in order to add your users. And again, in training, we're going to cover all of this. So you don't have to take notes, or this is just to give you an overview. We'll go through this in detail later on, and we also have training videos specifically on how to load your users. So not to worry, we'll go through this plenty of times. But I'm going to use Bruce Ryan. I'm going to actually use myself as the caregiver. Well, Bruce Ryan as my recipient for when I create a visit. So I can search by and find myself. So I'm in here as both a provider admin and a caregiver. And I can click on these little red dots, or these three dots over here on the right, and it gives me a little menu. I can send a message to this user. So that's how you would send the message. I can reset the password. This is obviously pretty critical. In the beginning, you're going to find that a lot of caregivers are going to forget their password. Now, on the mobile app, on the first page when they open the mobile app, it says password help. They can reset their password themselves. Very easy. Click a button, enter your email, you reset your password. However, some of them may call the agency and say, can you reset my password? And that's how you would do it. You would just come here, click on this, and it resets their password. Very easy to do. If you need to edit their user roles, you can do that here. And then if you need to look into their details, you can do that by clicking the details button. And then this little pencil allows me to edit the details. And you can see these are all my details. Obviously, I don't have all my information filled in, but if I wanted to fill anything in, I would come here and do that. And I would just hit the update button. So that's how you can find a user and edit the user. Let's go to the recipients. So again, I'm going to use Ryan as when I do my schedule. And here it is, Bruce Ryan. And same thing with the three dots. I click on the three dots, and I can either deactivate that recipient if that recipient is no longer a recipient of mine, or I can edit it. And some of this information will not be editable, and that's per the rules set up by Georgia, because if they're sending us information, they don't want that information to be changed since their system is the source of truth. However, there might be other parts in here, like, for example, the emergency contact. That may not come over in the feed. So then that would be an editable field. You can also see there are some topics here like addresses. you may have several addresses for each of your recipients. Sometimes you may do a visit at their home. Another time you may do it at another place, maybe a relative's home. And so you can enter in those additional addresses, and you can always set one to a primary. And then that way, when you're setting up the schedule, it will always default to the primary, but it will give you the option to select any of the other ones. And I won't go through all of these. Payer subscriptions, about the payers. Notes, this gives me a list of all my notes for that recipient. Any note that happened, you can see, like, I actually did a visit earlier today, and I completed it manually, and I had to enter a note. Cell phone battery died, and I did not have a charger. So you can see that note is in the history for this recipient. I may have some documents. So here's a DNR that this recipient had, and I uploaded this document into this section here. And then this is referring physician information if that's required. Okay, so that's a little bit about the recipients tab and the user tab and how those get loaded and how they're editable. Now let's go in and let's schedule a visit. So I'm going to the scheduling tab here. I'm gonna select myself. I'm the user, and you can see my schedule for today. I had a visit this morning at 6:15. I had one this afternoon. I had another one with Mr. Ryan at, looks like 3:30 to 4:30, and now I'm going to schedule another visit. So in the upper right-hand column, you can see add a new visit. I'm going to click that, and it's going to walk me through a workflow. I'm going to start typing in Ryan, and you can see it. It gives me my options. There's actually 3 Ryans. There's only one Bruce Ryan. The other ones are first name Ryan. And it does tell me the Medicaid ID and the date of birth, just in case. It's always possible that I had 3 Bruce Ryans and they were different people. Then it would allow me, through the Medicaid ID and date of birth, to select the correct recipient. So when I do that, it will automatically load the payer associated with that recipient. In your case, that will be Georgia Medicaid. It will load in anything else that's required for the claims. So, for example, a diagnosis code may be required, or a referring physician may be required. It will automatically pull that from the profile. If for some reason you did not load something that is required in the profile, then it would flag that and let you know that you need to go in and update that recipient's profile. I'm going to select myself as the caregiver. I'm going to select S5125 as attendant care. And you can see that I have just one task that I've set up. Tasks are all configurable within the system. So I can add additional tasks, I can remove tasks, and you're going to have all the services that are part of Georgia Medicaid listed here. So those will be the ones that are listed. Again, this is a demo system, so you might be saying, oh, those are not relevant. And you're right, these are just what's in our demo system. But when you get access to your system, it will only list the ones that are relevant for you. Okay, so as I page down, it shows me location. So if you remember, there was one address that was the primary, that was this address. However, if I hit this drop down, there were 2 other addresses. And if I was going to complete a visit at one of those, I could easily just click on one of those and change it. And it does tell me also the address type if I've filled that in to the profile. All right. Next would be selecting the date and the time. So if I'm scheduling a future visit, I just hit the calendar and I can select any date. And then the time, it always will default to the current time. I can click the little clock here and change the time. And then how long is this visit going to be for? It's going to be for 1 hour and let's say 30 minutes. If I wanted to repeat this visit, say I do this visit every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then it's asking me, well, how many occurrences do you want to repeat for? I could select, up to whatever number of occurrences, or if I have an authorization that ends, say, the end of February, I would come in here and select a date when the PA ends. And now this visit would repeat every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday until 2/26. I'm not going to repeat for this visit, for this demo, but I did want to show you that function. And then I can just hit save. Now, what it did is it ran that visit through a rules engine. And again, the rules engine is configured via the Georgia rules. And this is what we're working through right now, all the different rules that we're loading into the system to get it ready for you. So again, this is just in our demo system. So your rules may be very different, but I at least wanted to give you an idea how it works. So this says caregiver Joe Schnurr has no rendering provider ID. And maybe if you remember when we looked at my profile, it was right. I didn't have a rendering provider ID. And if that is required by a rule, then it's going to flag it for me to let me know. Visit start date is out of the recipient's eligibility date range. Oh, that's important. Bruce Ryan may not have eligibility anymore. Maybe I need to look at that before I would schedule this visit. And so forth. I won't go through them all, but I think you get the idea. Now, I can either stop this visit and go make the corrections, or I can save the visit without making the corrections. But I'm going to want to make sure that I do go in and fix those things, because otherwise it's not going to allow me to bill for that visit until I've made those corrections. Okay, so I can go ahead and hit save, and you get a little green sign down here. And now if I go back to my schedule, and you can see here I am on the schedule, and if I page over, there's my visit that I just created. Now, I can click on any one of these visits, and I can get details. So let's click on the one I did earlier in the day, this one here, and it gives me the details of the visit. Now, I missed this visit, and it tells me what it was scheduled for. It doesn't have any actual time because I missed the visit. I didn't do it. I was scheduled for this. These were my tasks, location, and so forth. Let's see, I think I completed. Yeah, I completed this one earlier in the day. You can see that I checked in at 6:10 and checked out at 7:10. You can see the address where I completed the visit. And this, I actually completed this manually. I think it tells you, you can see start verification type. So this is an important field. If you use the mobile app, it will say GPS. If you completed the visit manually, then it will put none or non. So that's what it's telling me here. That's how I know that I completed this visit manually. And that's why you can see the scheduled and the actual, they were right on. That rarely happens if you use mobile. But when you do it manually, you can select the exact time. Okay, so let's pick this visit that I just created, and let me show you how you can complete this visit manually. So let's say that my caregiver was not able to complete the visit because, let's say, they forgot their phone or their phone broke or whatever, and they find a different way to call you, because if their phone broke, they'd have to find a different phone. But let's say they call you and, I'm sorry, my phone died. I'm using the house phone here. I clocked in at on time at 6:25. Can you clock me in? So I can come in and complete this visit. By clicking that complete visit, it says, is the visit complete? I choose the start and end date and the time. I select the, it says, I had bathing and grooming as a task. Down here, I can click whether I did it or not. If I don't click this, then it will say that I didn't do that task. So let's say I did it. And then I can hit save. Okay, so this is flagging me because I can't complete a visit for a time that hasn't happened yet. So I'm trying to complete a visit for a time that's in the future. We haven't hit 7:55 yet. So it's not allowing me to do that. That's a good thing. So I'm going to cancel. But that's how you would complete a manual visit. Now, once all the visits are done, you can see them all here in your system. So if you ever want to go back and you want to do a search on maybe one of your users, I'll just take me again, and I want to search all the visits that I've done, and I can even look at date ranges here, enter in date ranges, and then I hit search, and it will bring up all the visits that I've done. And it will tell me who it was with, what service codes, scheduled start and end time, actual start and end time. If it's blank, obviously I missed it, so there was no time. What the status is, the payers, all the information on any of those visits. So that's what the visit screen is for. Okay, so pretty sure that's what we were planning on covering in today's demo. So we've covered, again, the dashboard, the schedule and how to schedule, the visits and how to manually complete a visit. The next session, we're going to go through work list, claim review, and prior authorizations. In a separate one, we'll go through the reports. We went through the users and the recipient. And as we get into training, I'll go through the training tab, and this links you to all of our training material, which is a great resource. So in an effort to not give you too much, I think this is probably a good place to wrap up today's demo. And I'll turn it back over to you, Brian. I'll bring back up the slides and then let you take it from here.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. And thanks for the very comprehensive sneak preview. I'm getting a little bit of me. Oh, there. That's great. So let me go over some of the upcoming town halls, and then we'll try and get to as many questions as you guys have as we can get through. So next, as Joe said, we're going to be doing a claims demonstration, then training prep, and then we're kind of opening it up for the next several months for topics needed based on our feedback and open Q&A. Definitely, and we have Mary, which is a new month. It's my new favorite month is Mary. But in May, we will have one that is specific to registration, because that'll be an important point where we're trying to get everybody on board for the soft launch. Okay, I think the next page is just our Q&A. So let me run through some questions. But before I do that, let me also remind you again of the EVV web box, EVV specific mailbox, which is evv.medicaid@dch.ga.gov. And guys, you don't have to remember all of this stuff. If you just go into Google or any search engine and put in DCH EVV, our webpage is going to be one of the first ones that come up. So that's really all you got to do to get to our webpage. You don't even have to remember it. All right, let me run through some questions real quick. The first one is, I want to know if we start using this system, do we have to bill every week or monthly as previously? So this system is going to be able to capture all of your visit information, all of your claim information. And if everything is there, it can be sent across to bill. There would be no reason really for you to hold your billing for monthly. You may do that now, or you may bill for whole monthly spans, but that's not something that would be necessary with the EVV services. It's just much more efficient than doing that. So I got a couple of questions here, and they're the same. They are for participant-directed or consumer-directed individuals that say, can you please clarify, are we going to use this system or are we going to use our fiscal intermediary system? It's phrased a couple of different ways, one in chat and in a couple of different questions. As we see it now, and we have a meeting with we're setting up a meeting with all the fiscal intermediaries later this month. Our plan is to treat the fiscal intermediaries as a provider who has their own system. And then their system would integrate with the TELUS system through the use of the aggregator. So you would continue to use their system as you do now. So the next question I have is, do we have to use this system to bill Medicaid, or can we still continue to use GAMAs? In order to get paid for the personal support services or community living services, they are mandated by the federal government to go through the EVV vendor. So you will have to use this system for billing. Does the software allow for exporting of time in, time out to Excel? That's not a question I'm sure I know the answer to. I know there's a lot of reporting. No, I don't know if you know that answer off the top of your head.
Yes, I do, Brian. So yes, when we go through the reports, I'll share with you what we call a time log report that will give you all the specifics of the time, and it will allow you to search or create that report by the dates that you're looking for, which specific user, which specific recipients, and then you can create a report, and then yes, you can export that report into Excel if you want to upload that into a payroll system.
Great, thanks. Good lifeline. I already answered that question. Can we shut off the ability for caregivers to message within the system? Or our caregivers to continue the phone? This is just saying that the administrators will not be there every day, and they have a small number of administrators. I don't know that we would still want to cut off the messaging in that function. But I can address that offline. If you want to send that to the EVV mailbox, we can discuss that. The next question is, we have to get both CLS and CAI funding. This system is only for CLS. It is not for community access individual or community access group. So it is only for community living supports in the now and comp waiver, or personal support services in the other waivers. So this next question is that we already use Therap, and they want to continue to use that system. I would encourage you to go into our EVV website again, because I believe Therap is one of those that TELUS is already familiar with integration with. I'm right, aren't I, Joe?
You are correct, yes.
Good. Before I just start saying things that aren't true. Is scheduling required for all EVV users? Yeah, scheduling is required as part of the plan of care for all of our members who receive personal support services or community living services, and it is a function of EVV. It does not have to, you don't have to strictly stick to the schedule. We understand, and I think this is a later question too, that I'm going to go ahead and answer. I understand some people miss appointments. So, somebody might get sick, somebody may be late, but there should be a schedule and a plan of care that is loaded and that is your guide for when somebody comes to deliver service and leaves. CLS billing rates, this is a question about CLS billing rates. The billing rates and the units will be loaded into EVV, yes. So it will recognize the different units, the different time periods, and the different rates. The difference, when you do a new question, I get moved down. So hold on a second. What's the difference in the functionality between this and Therapy? I don't know that we can answer that. Joe, let me tell you this though. Joe did a really good job in the last webinar of going through the benefits of using the TELUS system. So I would tell you to go back and look at that webinar and that Q&A, because it was, whereas we really can't talk about the benefits of another system because Joe works for TELUS and I work for the state, we can show you what the benefits are of the TELUS system. So I would encourage you to go back and look at that. Can we import schedules into the system? We will be importing PAs into the system, and we will be needing providers to set up schedules in the system. Is there an issue if we put budget schedules, but for some reason they don't show up? No, I answered that before. The schedule is just a guide. So we understand that people sometimes have to stay late because the person has an issue. We totally get that. We already have systems. This one is a basic question that just says, why didn't we just make the system with GPS login and logout? I'm going to encourage you to go to the EVV website again and look at what is required by the federal government. There's 6 individual things that must be done in order to be EVV compliant. So it's more than just login and logout and GPS. There are 6 specific things. The added functionality we did for the benefit of our providers, things like scheduling and automatic billing. That was in order to be a benefit to providers. The next question is about ClearCare and is that compatible? So if you go to the EVV website that we have, there is under the provider tab, TELUS has put not only, they've put out the requirements of technical guide as far as what needs to be done in order to integrate with the TELUS system through the aggregator. And that includes an attestation that gives you all of the individual points in order to verify that the system can connect with their system. Is there a cost to providers? There is not a cost to providers for use of the TELUS system, besides the indirect cost of having to, say, train your staff. And we will go through those series of webinars to get you prepared for implementation. And the next question is about, we asked about that one. It's about, will employees go through TELUS or through the fiscal agent? And so we answered that. We're going to treat those fiscal agents as their own provider and use their system. We're looking right now if you need to continue to collect timesheets. Our hope is that we can remove the timesheet requirement to for a little bit of ease of administration for you. The next question is what systems interface with this system? Again, there is a long list on the website of other systems that integrate, that TELUS already has experience integrating with. But again, the technical requirements are there as well. I answered the next question already. ABA therapy for ASD, autism spectrum disorder, is not required under the federal mandate for EVV. Neither is community residential nursing, or community residential alternative or nursing supports. So again, I'm going to refer you to the website again, and I know you guys are sick of me saying that, but really, you really need to go on there because we have it individually broken out on the website, all the services that are required versus all the services that are not required. So even in Now and Comp, where there are many, many, many services for individuals, we specifically list out each and every service that is not required. I'm completely aware of how CLS rates are built. Thank you for your question, but the system will recognize the rates that are on the PAs and on the service lines. We're the ones who built it, so we're completely aware of how that works. Thank you for that question, though. The EVV website is, Joe, can you go to that first page just so we show them the website again? Right here. So there's a couple of questions in a row here about where is the website. It's this first one, medicaid.georgia.gov/Georgia electronic visit verification. But I'm going to tell you the easier way to get there. If you go to Google and put in DCH EVV, I think it's the first thing that comes up when you do that. So I would, to me, I know it seems like I should have it bookmarked by now, and it's absolutely silly that I don't. But I usually go to DCH EVV, and I'm going to try it right now while I'm on the phone with you. And the first thing that comes up in Google is the correct link that takes you right to the EVV website. So you can do that too, and it works in Bing and all the rest of the stuff. Okay, so we've only got a few more questions, but I want to go through them for everybody. So that is also where you can see the previous websites. I mean, previous webinars. Yes, they are on that website. The next question is, what if my caregiver does not want to use her phone for this? Well, in the event that we're going to have specific criteria for people who don't have a phone, or there's some reason why there can't be a phone to be used. We strongly encourage for phones to be used, and they will have to, not use of a phone will have to be approved on an individual basis. There is a ton of functionality that you lose and that the state loses when they're not using a phone. But we will have a fixed device option available. But again, those fixed devices will have to be individually approved and monitored by the state. Yes, you can import schedules into the system. Okay, now there were a bunch of questions in the chat box, so give me just a second so I can go back. We're through all the questions in the Q&A, so give me just a second to make sure there's anything I missed in the chat box besides that. Answer the first question. There will be individual trainings and breakouts for individuals with participant direction or self-direct our family's care. So that is a great question, and we will address that individually. Right now, again, our hope is that we can just treat the existing FIs as existing providers. If you need individualized training, if you are starting from ground zero, go ahead and shoot me an email at the email box. And what I will do is I will reach out to you, and we will set up individual time to talk through things and go through all of the EVV information with you. We want everybody to be successful in this. It is not our intention for anybody not to be able to use the EVV system or all of the functionality that is available in the EVV system. So please do, I got a chat question just saying they needed a little bit more help. Go to the evv.medicaid@dch.ga.gov, and we will set up individual reach out to you so that we can talk. Okay, believe it or not, that is all the questions and all of the QAs. If you have, yes, we got one last question. Self-directed families would still be able to see their information on GAMIS. Nothing that is already available on GAMIS will be taken away, which is the billing system. Okay, so last thing, again, use that mailbox when you, the EVV mailbox, when you need to send more questions, or if you're like me and you remember things at a later date. If you need extra time or a one-on-one, I encourage you to let me know that, and I promise you, we will set up time to talk through all your concerns, questions, anything that you want to talk about. I want to thank you again for joining us today and taking a time out of your evening, which I know is a lot. It's a busy time of year and there's a lot going on. So overarchingly, I just want to thank you for your participation today. Have a great night.
Thank you, everybody.